MicroStrategy holders, pay attention. The world's second largest stock exchange just dropped a bombshell. Any company trying to raise money to buy Bitcoin now faces mandatory shareholder votes, heavy disclosures, and here's the kicker, even the threat of being kicked off the exchange entirely. Now, Strategy stock instantly fell around 3% before snapping back, but is that just a blip or perhaps a first crack in the armor? So here's the real twist. Is this exchange secretly building a regulatory moat that could anoint a single winner like Strategy? Or is this a move designed to kill Bitcoin treasury plays altogether? Now, this isn't the only storm brewing. Two of the biggest regulators in the country, the US, issued a joint statement just recently that could reshape the entire ecosystem. So today, we're going to break down what's really going on, what it means for MicroStrategy, and more importantly, most importantly, what it means for Bitcoin. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this one. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your weekly session. I want to welcome to the stage my co-host with the most, Nathan Fitzsimmons of Bitcoin Mentor. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good, buddy. Did you see it? Did you happen to see the worst take in recent history on Bitcoin Twitter that man, months, years since someone said something that stupid?
It's giving vibes of Peter Zeihan. It's hard Peter Zeihan vibes for sure, but we'll address that soon enough. I think let's take a little look at what's been going on here, though. What is the deal with MicroStrategy and what was the exchange in question? Well, it was indeed the NASDAQ. And so what have they done here? Again, they're stepping up oversight over US listed firms raising funds to buy crypto or Bitcoin inclusive. And this is an article via The Information. Again, requiring shareholder votes, demands for more disclosures, and the possibility of suspending or delisting companies that don't comply. Again, Strategy went down 3% on the news. Now, let's just take a quick look over here on Yahoo Finance. Now, this is the interesting part. I'm going to read a bit from the article and touch on the thing that stands out most to me. Strategy shares declined 3.5% after the information reported that NASDAQ is intensifying its scrutiny on companies attempting to boost their stock price by raising funds to acquire cryptocurrency. The report indicated that NASDAQ is now requiring certain companies to obtain shareholder approval before issuing new shares for crypto purchases, potentially slowing the recent trend of firms transforming themselves into crypto-focused stocks. This increased oversight could delay deals and introduce uncertainty into the market's crypto boom. Other crypto adjacent stocks were similarly affected. So we saw some drops across the board. We even saw Bitcoin drop around 2.5%. Now, according to the report, NASDAQ can delist stocks or suspend trading if companies fail to comply with these requirements. The exchange's actions come amid what the information describes as a stunning transformation in crypto that began during the Trump administration, which loosened regulations on cryptocurrency. Again, the timing of this scrutiny is particularly significant as companies have begun racing to accumulate tokens quickly. I mean, they're mostly speaking of Bitcoin, obviously, but we'll see some examples of others here. Nonetheless, there's clearly a reason that this is happening now. And one of the main reasons is how much has happened in such a short period of time. Here's Bitcoin news. Public company Bitcoin holdings officially surpass 1 million Bitcoin for the first time. Again, over $111 billion in Bitcoin taken off the market. Now, Strategy has done pretty well over the long term. They are not anywhere near their all-time highs. Various reasons for that. However, not every other Bitcoin treasury company is doing all that well. So I want to show some examples here. NUNCHUK, Stock is down 75% in the last 3 months and is now trading at 3x MNAV. What is MNAV? MNAV is basically if you're buying the stock, how much is the stock priced at versus the value of the underlying assets. And so basically 3 times the amount of, the Bitcoin on treasury. And so the stock has dropped. And again, it's still trading at 3x the MNAV. So it could have a ways to go. 75% in 3 months. There's a look at it. And here's the kicker. That's not even the worst of it. Again, it says that strategy is currently trading at around a 1.6, or I believe right now 1.5 something to MNAV. So, 1.5, the value that's on the treasury. So the current price right now of NUNCHUK is even worse. It's sitting at $3.28. Remember, in the previous tweet, it was $5.44. It is down 22% today alone. That's wild. And so, these treasury companies, they can be volatile as hell. And while I don't necessarily think strategy is going anywhere in terms of just its actual financials, things like NUNCHUK, I don't know, like that looks a little, some of these things are getting a little out of hand. And I'm going to give you an example of one of the worst ones that we saw just a few days ago. This is actually crazy. Clean Core Solutions is converting to become the first ever Dogecoin treasury company in partnership with the House of Doge. The stock immediately plummeted 59%. What a world. Yeah, I love the follow-up poll tweet here, which was, what will we see first? A fart coin ETF or a fart coin treasury company, which is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this is all crazy. Nathan, I'm curious your thoughts on kind of the recent lack of performance with some of these treasury companies, even strategy not excelling as it once did. Bitcoin's been sideways, but the companies have not been sideways. They've been kind of bleeding a little bit from time to time. And NUNCHUK bleeding a lot all of the time.
No, 100%. It reminds me a lot of the miners as well, too, where they tend to move up a little bit faster and move down a little bit faster as well. It's the kind of beta play on Bitcoin. I would expect, I really don't see long-term treasury companies being really much above like an MNAV of 2. It doesn't quite make sense to me. I can see okay, if there's some way they can deploy the capital, that they can actually make use of it, that they could have a premium on top of their net asset value, or even be slightly below 1 if there's some sort of associated risk with the company, with the holdings as well. It's I have a very hard time kind of articulating this, but there's something unique, I think, about Saylor in strategy versus everybody else kind of getting into the game. And what I mean by that is it's like, when you meet somebody and they're clearly really, really smart and they're probably smarter than you, I get those vibes from Saylor. Dude seems like he's pretty brilliant. And, evidence would kind of go to support that as well, too. I'm not necessarily getting that same vibe with everybody else necessarily in the treasury space. And so what it feels to me, both with like the NASDAQ possibly cracking down and the other treasury plays, is that I think Saylor is trying to actually do something successful and potentially meaningful with MicroStrategy, but everything else just feels like a different shitcoin game. Like the NASDAQ is just kind of clued into that this is kind of a paper Bitcoin, you like Bitcoin, buy my shitcoin, you like Bitcoin, buy my paper Bitcoin company, shitcoin game. And I think they're not happy about it. Now, how they're going to make that happen or what their end goal might be, I'm not sure, but it feels like perhaps the NASDAQ adults at the table aren't happy with some of the kids that are trying to get in.
Yeah. I mean, if that Dogecoin treasury is any indication, first off, I want to say I'm not a fan of regulating what people can do with their own money.
Nope.
I think, yes, there's a role for making sure outright fraud doesn't happen. But if it's just a stupid idea, I think you should let people buy the stupid ideas and learn from the stupid mistakes. But that said, I do recognize that regulators exist and they want to regulate, and they're seeing a whole lot of reasons why they might want to regulate things, especially when you see crap like this, when you see companies saying, hey, we're going to be a Dogecoin treasury company now, and then dumping 59% in a day. Yeah. Like,
how could you possibly think that was a good idea? Like, I get it. Well, like when Elon was going on Saturday Night Live, I can see be like, oh, we're gonna try and catch this hype and maybe save a dying company. Like, I get the reasoning behind it, but now, like, I can't see, like, there's no hype around Doge. Like, why would you do that now of all times? It's a terrible idea to begin with. It's even worse idea now.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, I'm kind of curious. What do you think the intent with this new regulation and this new tightening is? So, is this something? And I'll get it so we can see it more clear. Do you think that this is meant to dampen everything, including MSTR, and try and get a lid on the treasury company play as a whole? Or do you think that this is leaning into, we're going to pick a few winners that are going to get a pass, and then we're going to make it really difficult for everyone else to get in the door?
Oh, come on. Just ask Nancy Pelosi. And we know the answer to that. It's going to be some insider games where they know who's going to be allowed and who's not. They're going to fill out their bags beforehand if they haven't already. This to me screams of regulatory capture. I still think in a lot of ways, people in like those kind of positions don't recognize the threat that Bitcoin is to everything that they do in the existing fiat system. But I do think that greed will take over 100%. I think this is the same sort of thing you saw Meta, it would have been Meta, Google, OpenAI, all lobbying for regulation, right? They want regulation in the space. Why do they want that? They want to keep any competitors out. The same thing happened after 2008 with JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, right? They were there with Dodd-Frank. They were making sure to set the rules after the great financial crisis, which just so happened to keep any small competitors, maybe young fintech, from getting into the space.
Mhm.
I think what we're seeing here, I don't think they're going to end up going after MicroStrategy. I think there will be those that are allowed, that are anointed, that are chosen. And it just so happens that the regulators and all their friends loaded up on them beforehand.
Yeah, let's take a look at who has a vested interest in not having MicroStrategy clamped down on or delisted. So here's the largest shareholders. Of course, Saylor up at the top with around 10%. We've got Vanguard, Capital Research and Management, BlackRock, of course, Growth Fund of America, Clear Street, State Street, Invesco, and many others. But those are kind of the top. So, I mean, Larry Fink is not one to be told no. And I can guarantee you that he's got plenty of influence that would prevent anything bad happening to his 6.5 to nearly 8%. Sorry, 6 to 6.5%, 5%, wherever he's at. Yes, he's got a meaningful allocation. Plus the ETFs. He doesn't want to see that, flounder. And so I think that MicroStrategy, if this new increased scrutiny comes down, I don't think that Saylor and MicroStrategy will have to worry much about it. I think a lot of this other craziness that we've seen will. And what I'm really wondering is, if Saylor gets a pass, does he, as you've said in previous examples, OpenAI calling for regulation in the space, does Saylor start doing that?
I hope not. Like, I've seen him speak at like the RAND events and things as well too. I think he's a much more libertarian person than perhaps he lets on. And maybe I'm misreading that. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I hope not. But it doesn't mean that people won't necessarily do it on his behalf, kind of thing as well. Like, don't forget, like the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund owns MicroStrategy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a big club and we're not in it, but Saylor and MSTR probably are.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, things are also changing on a regulatory front. From a different perspective as well. Two of the largest regulators out there put out a joint statement just the other day here. The SEC and the CFTC, registered exchanges, can list certain spot crypto assets. So I'll read a little bit and we'll kind of say what this means. But in a major breakthrough for U.S. digital asset market, the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission have issued a rare joint statement saying that registered exchanges can now list certain spot crypto assets. This ends years of uncertainty and allows mainstream U.S. exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or the CME, to offer spot trading of digital assets, most likely including Bitcoin. Obviously, including Bitcoin, like if anything is.
No, it's Doge. It's gonna be Doge. Just
yeah,
Doge.
yeah, just spot Doge, Bitcoin excluded. For years, the SEC and CFTC were seen as competitors with overlapping jurisdiction in the digital asset space, often sending mixed signals. That era seems to be over. Quote, today's joint staff statement represents a significant step forward in bringing innovation to the crypto asset markets back to America, said SEC Chairman Paul Atkins. Market participants should have the freedom to choose where they trade spot crypto assets. CFTC Acting Chair Carolyn D. Pham echoed that, saying the recent announcement was the latest demonstration of our mutual objective to support growth and development, blah, 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 blah. Now, what does this actually mean? Is this paper Bitcoin? We don't really know. There's nothing, like they're still working out like how will this be traded and custodied and all that stuff. At the end of the day, what it means for some point in the future is that you may go to the New York Stock Exchange and just see Bitcoin, like you would see gold. You know, like it's basically, or any other stock. It's like, hey, I've got Bitcoin sitting at the New York Stock Exchange. Now, I would caveat that by saying, don't do that. I would say what's much better is probably having self-custody. And again, there's going to be a lot of new people that we've seen, lots of new people kind of coming in and watching the shows. And so if you're new to Bitcoin and you're unfamiliar what I'm even talking about, you know, when you have Bitcoin, but it's on an account registered somewhere, you do not own that Bitcoin. You run rug pull risk. You are basically running the risk of that entity at any point freezing your assets, rug pulling it. This is what we saw. The whole reason for Bitcoin existing is that dollars used to be linked to gold. And because people held dollars, that there was no explicit link other than a promise, that promise was able to be rug pulled. And so Bitcoin was created to give people an option to hold money nobody can print in a self-sovereign way. And it's very, very important that you watching this right now participates in Bitcoin as a sovereign user. So if you're unfamiliar, again, I show this regularly on the show, but here's a little QR code for you. And you can head over to btcsessions.ca/learn. That QR code will take you right there, and it'll get you started with some basic tutorials. How do you get a Bitcoin wallet? How do you secure it properly? All that kind of stuff. And you can just start with some beginner things and begin your educational journey. It is super, super important, and it is far superior to sitting your Bitcoin on any exchange, including the New York Stock Exchange. I know it sounds fancy and official, but trust us, self-custody or bust, I would say. Anything to add there, Nathan?
No, this makes perfect sense to me. I always thought that it kind of would have gone in this way. I never really considered specifically to the exchanges, but I mean, it makes sense, right? As much as I don't want to see people use custodians, I do think we'll have Bitcoin banks. I think that will be a thing, right? And it won't be like Coinbase. It'll be JP Morgan just uses Bitcoin as a currency and they custody it for you there as well too. Again, self-custody is the way, but I think that's where the industry will eventually get to. It makes sense that you'd also see, like, we're not going to have necessarily Binance and Kraken and Coinbase are going to be exchanges. It'll be the TSX. It'll be the New York Stock Exchange, right? You'll be getting Bitcoin like you do at the LBMA, the London Bullion Market, or on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Like, the larger players in fiat are coming to Bitcoin as well too. And they'll probably either die and somebody else will fulfill the role that they're currently doing, or they'll just take it over at some point. So it's shocking to read things like these compared to where we were like 5 years ago. But in a long enough time horizon, I was going to say, like, of course, you're just going to be able to buy Bitcoin at the major exchanges because that's what they do. They're major exchanges. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, contrary to emotions as Bitcoin goes up and down, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It's it's now becoming, funny enough, becoming entrenched in the traditional financial system, and I think it's going to eat it from the inside out. I think that's what.
Yes,
And
it is.
and even its biggest critics seem to be thinking the same. We all know our good friend Jamie Dimon, who clearly doesn't know how Bitcoin works, but even his own company, JP Morgan, is saying that Bitcoin is currently undervalued, especially compared to gold, with a fair value of about $126,000. And we're sitting at what, like 110 right now, something like that. So I mean, it's funny watching. At one point, he said he would fire anybody on staff that owned Bitcoin. Well, so much for that idea. Either way, that's a positive price prediction. But Nathan, you alluded to it. On the other side of the break here, we are going to take a look at one of the most fantastically bad price predictions I think I've seen in Bitcoin for quite some time. And this tweet is going to age like a glass of milk in the hot midday sun. It already stinks to high heaven, and it's only going to get worse. So we're going to be touching on that when we come back here. If you're enjoying the conversation, everybody that's here, everybody that's new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. But of course, please do drop a like on the video. It makes a ton of difference. And on the way back, make sure you pull out your Lightning wallets, because we're going to give away some sats as well. So with that, we'll be back in 1 minute. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC Sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions.
If you've been around Bitcoin for more than a minute, you've definitely seen something made by CryptoCloaks. Since 2017, they've been the go-to for badass 3D printed Bitcoin gear, from custom home mining rigs to sleek hardware wallet mounts that make your setup look pro. I've been stacking Cloaks gear for years, and most recently I grabbed their Gamma case for my miner. Let me tell you, it turns some heads. You can customize everything, and of course, the legendary Bitcoin grenade, yeah, that's them. Hit the link in the show notes or scan the QR code to visit CryptoCloaks.com and stack your own custom Cloaks gear today.
DEBIFI is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multisig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to DEBIFI.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. All right, we are back in. We're going to give away some sats here. Of course, I'm over on bitcoinwell.com. Awesome place to stack sats in Canada and the US. And the way we're giving away sats, basically when you sign up, when you buy Bitcoin, when you refer friends, you earn points, and you can use those points to buy some swag, which, by the way, they've got bid axes that you can get with points. And I'm looking at my points balance, and I could get 4 bid axes right now.
Ooh, nice little swarm.
I'm not close to a Cybertruck, but one can dream. Actually, no, those are ugly. I don't like them.
They've grown on me.
Really?
They've grown on me. Could be a fun toy.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, what we're going to do is, with some of those points, we're going to toss a coin in the well. And every time you do, you get the chance to win up to 1 million sats. And so all you need to do as a viewer is have your Lightning wallet out. When you see the QR code pop up on screen, you got to scan it first, because whoever does will steal the sats from everyone else. So off we go. We're going to play it. We're going to toss 500 points into the well. And as soon as that coin drops, you'll see a QR code. Scan it quick, and you'll snag 315 sats. If you happen to get it, let us know in the live chat or in the comments down below. We love to hear it. But with that, let's discuss perhaps one of the worst price calls I've seen I can confidently say it's going to age horribly. But here we are. This is Mike McGlone. He is a senior commodity strategist at Bloomberg Intelligence.
Senior,
senior,
by the way.
Yeah, they might want to might want to change out the word intelligence there in his bio. But nonetheless, he says the launch of Bitcoin on the back of the Great Recession spurred a proliferation of cryptocurrencies. About 20 million are listed on CoinMarketCap and may be a key risk asset leading indicator. My graphic shows normal reversion in Bitcoin might be towards $10,000. Full report on Bloomberg here. I don't think you need to read the full report to know this is garbage. He thinks that Bitcoin is going to drop over 90%.
Yep, 91%,
which hasn't happened since like for a decade, basically a decade plus. I think that first major that 90% drop was in and around the 2011. And so every cycle that we've seen since has had a big drawdown, but each time it's less and less. Like I lived through an 80% one in 2014 was over the course of that year. And then in 2017, it was roughly that, a little bit less, not as pronounced as the 2014 one. In 2021, it was what did we get? 70, 60?
It was about, I was trying to do the math quickly. I think it's about 66 to 70%. It was somewhere around there, but it was also less of a drawdown than the previous cycle, which was less of a drawdown than the previous cycle. Yeah. But now we're getting 91%, guys. We're going to 10K. Maybe it's just a typo. Maybe he meant to say we're getting a pullback to 100K. I could see that happening.
He did not. I scrolled through his feed and it's him doing all these interviews, and all the interviews are like Bitcoin could lose a zero. So he definitely thinks it's a 90% drawdown in the cards. I like how caring Larry Lepard is here in his reply. Mike, I would take this down. You are seriously damaging your credibility here. 10 grand trying to help a friend. Like he's so genuinely concerned. Oh, Larry, he could have dropped so many F-bombs. Instead, he went with love. And that's great. I mean, some of the other replies are less than kind. The best time to delete this post was immediately after posting it. The second best is now. Yeah, there's a number. Now, why are people saying that he's so wrong? I mean, convicted Bitcoiners, you're not going to take a look at this, but let's take a look at Larry here. So Larry, reminder, gold leads, Bitcoin follows harder. Wait for it. And so he's showing the side-by-side of gold and Bitcoin. And typically what will happen is gold goes for a rip, and then shortly thereafter, Bitcoin likes to follow it up. Especially, and let me roll up this a little bit quicker, especially since in and around kind of after the 2021 rally. And so Bitcoin, you see gold go up, you see Bitcoin kind of rip past it, comparatively, and then correct. Gold goes up. So it's just, Bitcoin's just, it goes harder, it's more volatile, it gets a bigger dip, whipsaw, but then continues on its merry little way. And this is, people can't get past the increased volatility, but when you look at this cycle, actually, we've not been super volatile. It's just been kind of a grind up.
Have we had even like 30% correction? I feel like we got close, but I don't even think we tagged 30%.
I know that because we got down in the 80s for a little bit there.
Yeah, like it was over 20%, I think, from like above 100 down to the 80s. But I don't think we've even tagged 30%, which would happen multiple times in previous cycles.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's chat a little bit about some of the I guess you could call them the macroeconomic forces, but also just the general. We're gonna call this section today in the fourth turning is here. We're going to talk about the dissolution of trust in our typically most trusted institutions. And so, boom, Department of Justice issues subpoenas in a probe into the Fed's Lisa Cook, so one of the governors of the Federal Reserve. This is from Wall Street Journal. It was tweeted by Zero Hedge. And so they're basically going after, criminal investigations into one of the Fed boards. People on the left are crying that this is undermining the independence of the Fed. What independence? Yeah. And then people on the right are saying, yeah, well, she's a criminal, and people that don't lean to either side of the aisle are probably just eating popcorn like myself. Now, this is one of many things that is undermining, trust in institutions like the Fed. And so as further to this, and maybe I'll scroll up a little bit too, the U.S. Treasury is going to auction $100 billion in 4-week T-bills. So what is that? Basically, if you're buying treasury bills, that is, you are lending money to the government and you are getting interest back. It's usually known as one of the safest things you can do with your money nominally. So, you give the treasury $100 and they say we're going to guarantee that you get paid this back plus 4, 5, 6, whatever percent. And because the US government can always just make more money, that at least you'll get your amount plus interest back. That is kind of the thinking. It's one of the safer bets that you can make because the country doesn't want to be seen as insolvent. So why is this a big deal? They're issuing $100 billion worth of 4-week bills. That means that they expire after 4 weeks or about a month. And they're having to sell such short-term debt because nobody trusts them long-term. The 30-year treasury bills, when they can't sell them, they need to sell them at higher and higher interest rates. And right now, the short duration treasuries and the long duration treasuries are pretty close in price. And the US can't afford to sell treasuries on a long duration at higher and higher interest rates because there's so much debt already. I think debt repayment is already bigger than the US military budget.
It is. Yep. So I think it's the largest line item there too. No, you're absolutely right. I've been thinking about this the other day too, in terms of, I don't know if they'll ever be able to sell long duration. The only way I could see it happening is they either step in and do direct yield curve control to get those down, or there's some major kind of financial event where there's just that panic and that rush to safety. You can see that bring the long end down. But I think you're right that they're basically screwed, that they're going, and it's funny because you can see them, it's almost a chilling effect with Lisa Cook as well too. I'm sure they could get every Fed governor on something if they wanted to. I've got the ability to, they just sprinkle a little crack on them. They could make something up or they could find them. So I think there's a bit of a chilling effect where essentially they're not going to be able to issue long duration debt. There's no buyer for it. So they're going to have the Fed basically pin the short term as low as possible and just keep recycling it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Now, the interesting part, I scrolled down a little bit so that we'd take a look. So U.S. Treasury to auction $100 billion in 4-week bills, denoting that nobody trusts the Treasury, nobody's trusting the government and the debt and the repayment of the debt, and that they're actually going to enjoy an increase in purchasing power. What people are seeing is they're realizing that asset inflation is moving faster than the percentage of interest that they would get or the coupon that they would get on these treasuries. And so unless they're doing something short term, they don't want them. And so nobody's buying them. In 30 years, the debasement of the currency is going to be way above the 4.5%, 5% that they're offering right now. And so as they announced this auction that nobody trusts them anymore, look at gold. Yep. It broke out as soon as that happened. And again, what follows gold, historically speaking, is Bitcoin. And so, again, this is Nick Bhatia tweeting this out. Guys, and just a chart of gold breaking out basically the moment the Treasury announced that. Now, furthermore, back to Larry here, he's quoting Lisa Abramowitz. I don't know. Anyways,
That's a very good attempt. I'm proud of you.
yeah, I did my best. Anyways, co-host of B Surveillance. She said Goldman Sachs expects gold to surge to $4,000 an ounce by mid-2026 if the Fed's credibility gets significantly eroded. Goldman Sachs sees gold nearing $5,000. Gold prices have already doubled in the past 3 years. Now, Larry Lepard quoted this and said, if, in quotations, the Fed's credibility gets significantly eroded. Hello, McFly. The Fed's credibility is in tatters, and gold is headed to 10 grand, with Bitcoin headed to 250K. Go ahead and Google currency failure. I mean, I think he's pretty on point here. And to tack onto that, you've got James Lavish. Too long didn't read. The bond market no longer trusts the Treasury, Congress, or the Fed. And it shows the premium on the 10-year Treasury notes, again, going up and up and up, meaning nobody wants to buy them, so they've got to add more interest. Not looking so hot. Nathan, thoughts here?
It's all around the world too. It's UK, it's Germany, it's Japan. It's a globalized and it's a synchronized kind of global economy. And we're seeing basically confidence in government debt and we'll say fiscal and monetary responsibility just declining. It's very interesting to know that like we're living in an information age. And I know we've been here for a little while, but this sort of thing is becoming more popular or more kind of common parlance in the sense that like even jump back pre-COVID, the word fiat, I don't feel was like in the lexicon, but it is now. If I say fiat to people who aren't even in Bitcoin, they don't pay attention to markets, they know what I'm referring to. And as more and more people have an understanding of how the system actually works, Emperor has no clothes. I think this just continues to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I want to show this video of Dr. Jeff Ross. Love this guy.
He's so great.
But he's basically here talking about how he thinks that Bitcoin should be well above 140 grand right now based on liquidity metrics, all of this. And so I'm going to, I'll bring it back to the beginning here and just kind of blow it up. But let's take a listen to what Jeff has to say. If I can get my mute.
But I think again, it's being held at $140,000 right now. It should be well above that based on the liquidity metrics I follow. Very surprised that it's not there. But I think again, it's being held on by the economy. I think once the most market participants believe that the U.S. economy is finally starting to surge, I think the price of Bitcoin will skyrocket at that point. So that's just my personal take, is it's going to make up for lost time. It leaves me very bullish with where we are. Like I said earlier, for the next 6 months or so, I'm actually very bullish. If you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said we'd almost be at the peak of this business cycle, but we haven't even started yet. And so there's a chance we either have this massive surge higher in a short amount of time in Q4 and we still maintain these 4-year cycles, or more likely what it's looking like to me is the cycle extends into the first half of 2026 somewhere, which to me would mean the Bitcoin peak would probably extend and happen somewhere in the first half of 2026. One other thing I want to bring up is because everybody knows that global M2 and liquidity lead the price of Bitcoin, something that I've noticed, however, is that at cycle peaks of Bitcoin price, the price of Bitcoin actually leads those other factors. So I would caution people to be very careful. What I've noticed from past cycles is that even though global M2 is still rising and kind of looking toppy, like the rate of change is starting to slow down a little bit, even though the economy is revved up and PMIs are sitting around 60 or so, and everybody is super bullish, that's usually about the time Bitcoin peaks. So I would be very
interesting. Yeah, I think again, as he said, it's yeah, I mean, I've got this feel that it's just been this kind of grind up, and we haven't really gotten started yet. And I don't know that the 4-year cycle is going to be as much of a thing. I feel like it's going to be at least very muted, and that in and of itself, if people get bored. Boredom can shake people out, right?
Yep.
But you got to have that low time preference. You got to just say like, hey, It's, from last year, it's up like 70, 80%. That's fantastic. That's amazing. And so, like, do we get this slow grind? I mean, I would be fine with that too. Just stacking sats, and it makes it a little bit easier to stay humble and stack sats, because you can just kind of save and everything just gets better very, very gradually. So I don't know. Thoughts?
I want the bomb. I want the tank so hard. I want that 10K. I'm still in my accumulation phase. This is not fair, guys. I need a little more time, stack a little bit harder. But to that point, I mean, I had a wonderful conversation with VJ Boy Party, and he made a very compelling case that this could be a much longer extended cycle. This may go on into 2030, even 2035. He's talking to a lot of institutional players, and he's reminding us that they're very slow to move. They're coming, they're setting up shop, but that doesn't necessarily happen overnight. And realistically, I mean, at this point in time, extended cycle, I'm kind of on that train. I see that kind of coming. While retail might not be able to actually move the price, I still think they're a good reflection of euphoria. I'm not getting any calls or texts. I'm not hearing people talking about it. Google searches are still down. So I don't think we're near a peak or even have had the peak at this point if we're going to repeat that 4-year cycle. And then additionally, there's so much going on in the U.S. economy. Real estate doesn't look great. Long duration treasuries look terrible everywhere as well too. And we've got Jerome Powell on the way out in May 2026 and pressure on the Fed. I'm still kind of anticipating, it may not be like a major crash, but I'm still in equities are, I think, at like all-time highs or nearby as well. I'm expecting a pullback, and then I'm expecting increased liquidity and possibly QE as well as lower interest rates. And if you remember the COVID crash and then where it ripped to in just the months afterwards, I would fully expect to have a pullback in Bitcoin, not to 10K. That's ridiculous. Would love it, but don't believe it. But I could fully expect to see a pullback in Bitcoin, then get matched by basically easing from the central banks and the banks, and then have it just rip even higher. Like, I would not be surprised at all to see that.
Yeah. I mean, after long enough, you're dead inside, and you just whatever happens.
Dude, it could double and I wouldn't even feel it. I'm not being hyperbolic. I've been soft. I guess I've been beat down by previous years' volatility.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Bitcoin makes you less. I don't know, less impulsive, I would say. Again, you get that low time preference over time where you're willing to just kind of like head down, work, save, all that kind of stuff, which is, we need to get back to that, right?
Yeah,
now,
savings technology.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we've been ripping on everything that's going on south of the border in the US. And, some would think like, well, you guys are just all US centric, and what about everything else? No, this, we're coming quickly to the Canada sucks portion of
reoccurring section. This keeps coming up over and over again.
There's just so much news in that realm. So let's just quickly chat again. Anybody in the US, you can have yourself a good chuckle at how quality of life is going up here north of the ice wall. Just so you're aware, here's a chart of Canada versus US GDP per capita. Okay, so meaning per person, how much economic value is being created. And this is also an indicator. It can be an indicator of, like how well the country as a whole is doing, but also it's kind of an indicator of quality of life per person as well. Now, it can be misleading in that it's denominated in dollars. And so you see it going up and to the right, but really it's kind of flat because they're printing more. And that's kind of the reality. But in Canada, it's dropped significantly since exactly when Justin Trudeau was elected, basically. All of those policies are really coming home to roost. And we just elected his successor, who was his economic advisor during this entire time. And yeah, you can see basically it just flatlines in 2015, and so the past decade has basically been completely flat. And again, GDP per capita down again in Q2 for Canada, and it just looks horrendous. Not only that, of course, we had Peter St. Onge. He, again, one of my favorite content creators. I just love his videos. They're so succinct. Canada enters recession as exports plunge 27% and business investment collapses 10%. More pain coming in Canada as Canada's new prime minister picks political fights with Trump rather than protecting the 6 million Canadians whose jobs export to the US. Again, what he's referring to here from here's a chart from Red Pill Rick. Third largest quarterly drop in exports in Canadian history. We've never had this large of a drop without a monster recession, double-digit unemployment confirmed. And as all this is happening, again, just the other day, the governor of the Bank of Canada, so our central bank, now wants flexible inflation targets. Tiff Macklem, again, he can't really keep that 2% target, and he wants some flexibility to bat that thing around. I'm guessing to the upside.
I think it's going to go that way. They're also at the same time, they're trying to reduce the number of temporary foreign workers because that was really starting to piss people off, driving down wages and is creating some issues here. And again, that's per capita on that GDP, so that more people coming in is going to drive that value down as well. Carney's already like turned heel on that. He's already said, okay, no, company. I think the quote was something like companies basically screaming, "We need temporary foreign workers to come in here." They refuse to raise the wages of Canadians, so we have to import cheaper labor.
Yeah. It's things are going great. Come visit Canada. Anyways, we are going to change gears here. Now, on the other side, we're going to do a quick little sponsor shout out here. But on the other side of the jump, Nathan, there's a movie that I want to talk about. There's something going on. It involves Bitcoin.
Yep.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yep.
Casey Affleck. That's Ben Affleck's brother. And Pete Davidson.
I need to talk about him. I don't understand him.
He does mysteriously. He's an odd one. We'll discuss. But what in the hell is going on with those guys and Bitcoin? We're going to discuss that in just a minute. If you're enjoying the conversation, whether you're new to the channel or you've been sticking around for a while, please do drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're not already. We'll see you guys in just a minute. Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? AQUA Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. AQUA also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, AQUA is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download AQUA Wallet today. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With NUNCHUK's HONEYBADGER plan, you get state-of-the-art multisig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. NUNCHUK is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The HONEYBADGER plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, ColdCard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the HONEYBADGER plan. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The ColdCard Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The TapSigner gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. All right, we are back in. Now, I just wanted to tag onto the Canadian part. I saw you in the chat there asking people to come up and spread democracy to Canada. Funny enough, after the election, I got a message from American HODL, and it was a GIF of a bunch of Marines like in a boat, like zooming with like all their guns and everything. He's like, don't worry, you little snow Mexican. We're coming to give you some freedom. Alluding to the 51st state thing. So
good.
Yeah.
That would be a huge improvement. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Now, we will be touching on that mysterious Pete Davidson and Casey Affleck Bitcoin connection in a moment here, but I do want to update you guys on a few other cool things that are going down. The first one, maybe not under the realm of cool things that are going on, dramatic things that are going on.
Intense.
Yeah, let's get a little update on this. The Bitcoin core versus not debate is I grow tired. Every time I open up Twitter, it's just like the bickering is getting to me. It's like the meme of the guy like pulling off the headphone. That's me every time I look at my feed. Nonetheless, it rages on. What is this debate about? Well, again, as a review for some of you, or just to fill some of you in that are unfamiliar, heated debate is unfolding within the Bitcoin community as supporters of Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Knots disagree over the network's future direction. Bitcoin Core and Knots being different ways to run a full Bitcoin node, which is a copy of the entire history of all Bitcoin transactions, plus the rules that govern the network. The controversy centers on Core's planned removal of the 80 byte limit for what's known as the op return data in its upcoming version 30 release, which is coming out in October. The technical shift aims to allow greater flexibility for embedding data on the Bitcoin blockchain, but has sparked fierce opposition from the Knots camp. Core developers arguing that lifting the limit will foster broader innovation, enabling use cases like digital art and document verification. There is also an argument in and around where it's stored. It can be jettisoned by pruned nodes. So there's a technical argument for not having to host it after the fact. Not supporters like Samson Mao, Luke Dasher, is that how you say it? Yeah, warns that the proposal could turn Bitcoin into a dumping ground for non-financial transaction spam and undermine its monetary focus. So yeah, this has been going back and forth for quite some time. I've done videos on how to run Core, but as soon as this kicked up, I also did a video on how to run Bitcoin Knots. And if you want to switch, you're running Core and you want to go to Knots, the video also outlines that as well. So peek around the channel. If you want to run a node, I'm not going to tell you what to run, but you make your decision to, take a listen to some of the debates around the issue and decide what you want to do. Nonetheless, just taking a look at node counts. So Bitcoin Core historically has by and large been incredibly dominant. It's just been like the only real double-digit percentage, like usually in the high 90s, everybody's running Bitcoin Core. However, that has changed over the past months here. Bitcoin Knots nodes, there's well over 4,000 of them now. Bitcoin Core is now sitting at 81.25% of the nodes, whereas Bitcoin Knots is 18.5% of the nodes. That's up significantly. Now, the interesting part here is that the total node count continues to go up, but the Bitcoin Core node count has been dropping. And not just as a percentage, but as a total of number of nodes. And so we've seen an increase in number of nodes being run. We've seen an increase in Knots nodes, a decrease in Core nodes. Here's the historical, run of Core nodes. We see it take a drop kind of in and around late 2024. And here's the chart beside it of the Knots nodes, which around the same time just went parabolic. Like historically, there were not many Knots nodes at all. Like as recently as early 2024, there were like 50 or 60, and now we're looking at thousands. So something has changed. I tend to look at this as a mechanism of voicing discontent with the trajectory of development, and it's a way of kind of showing if not only do you get to decide how your node runs, everybody should run whatever node they want to, whatever version they like based on how they believe the network should be run. And at 18% of the nodes, knots like that is not going to effectively filter out data from being put on the Bitcoin blockchain. But if it were to get to a high threshold, it would make it harder. It would make it more expensive over time. But whether or not we get there, I don't know. But it is, in my opinion, at least a way of voicing discontent. It's also, in the future, in my opinion, when you have an implementation that's like 20% or 30, 40%, something like that, it also makes it really, really difficult for one camp to fork Bitcoin in a direction and have everybody kind of go along with it. Even when it comes to soft forks, things like that, it further ossifies the protocol in that it's going to continually be more difficult to make changes. And so I don't view that as necessarily a bad thing, because we've got a very delicate system here, and you want to be conservative with development. And I don't want random things to break it. We want solid bedrock to build upon. So I don't know, Nathan, what are your thoughts here?
I don't know, man. Set me up for that one. Let's see. Well, I've been running knots for a long time now, long before this kind of started off. But it really came from just a place of curiosity, and had a good interactions with Luke on Twitter. So I just checked it out and was running knots, and it wasn't a big deal at the time. I think the best thing to come out of this is controversy breeds attention, and I love seeing the number of nodes just rip upwards. So that's great. So whatever implementation you're using, I don't care. I just want to see more nodes on the network. I'm very happy about that overall. I did see one comment earlier in the chat too, which is something that I've suggested to people, where if you don't necessarily know where you fit or what kind of philosophical or technical stance you want to make, you can just run an older version, right? You can just be running 27, 28, totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. The one idea that is not fleshed out, so I won't be able to get into complete detail on today, but I was thinking a lot about the idea of, even from the philosophical camp, of there's no such thing as public property. Right, it doesn't exist. You can have like collective ownership or like partial ownership. There's really no such thing as public property. In Bitcoin, if you control the keys, that's yours. You own that Bitcoin. Control is synonymous with ownership. And if I kind of look at it for that sort of framework, it's almost like you could say that the developers that have the keys for the GitHub, they own it. It's not a public good. They actually own Bitcoin Core in that sort of sense, in the same way that Luke owns Bitcoin Knots. And I would just love to see more competing implementations overall, because I don't think you actually really can have a public good. You have the tragedy of the commons if you were to go ahead and do that. And so I just like to see more competing implementations, more people working on development. I'd like to get away from one central place, which does then also result in ossification. But I think that's the better path to go overall. So more people working on it, love to see people talking about it, and just get out there and run a node. I don't care which version, just run one.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And so I'm going to kind of leave this be here. I want to jump into a few other, as I was alluding to, some of the cool things, some of the cool updates here. First, I want to touch on this. It's called the Samrock protocol. Also, I'm realizing why it's named this, and it's great. But nonetheless, what is this? So those familiar with a BTC Pay server, a self-sovereign way of hosting your own payment server, allowing you to set up stores and invoices and tip pages and fundraisers and all that with Bitcoin, generating new addresses every time, enabling Lightning payments, all of that stuff, and a whole bunch of different tools in and around Bitcoin as a merchant. It's open source, and it's an awesome piece of software. Now, they have a new protocol, basically an addition you can add to your BTC Pay server called Samrock Protocol. And what it does is it helps remove the barriers to entry when it comes to running the Lightning node portion of your BTC Pay server. Anybody that's ever tried to run a Lightning node, you got to set up Lightning channels and figure out liquidity and stuff like that. It can be a little tricky. All right. It's gotten easier for sure. And we're going to touch on something that has made it easier. But this is meant to be like a plug and play, set it up, and you no longer have to worry about it. And so what is this? It allows you, it's a plugin for BTC Pay server. It allows you to accept Bitcoin on chain via Liquid and via Lightning. Liquid being a layer 2 kind of pegged side chain of Bitcoin. nonetheless, you're getting, you're basically getting your Bitcoin payments in 3 different ways. So all it does is you install the plugin on BTC Pay Server, you click on Samrock Protocol and add it. After clicking the button, you say how you want to accept payment. You can do all 3 or select certain ones. And then it's going to generate a QR code containing a setup link. And you just open the AQUA wallet app and you scan it, and it just links it all up. And then all of those payments will go through your AQUA wallet, which is like, you don't have to set up lightning channels or anything. It just links. Now, this is not live yet with the AQUA app and everything, but it has been heavily tested and it should be dropping pretty soon. I'm going to for sure be playing with it. Again, as a merchant, it makes things incredibly easy, and I can't wait. I think it's awesome. Nathan, what do you think?
I love this sort of stuff, man. Like I will definitely be checking it out. I've been playing around with BTC Pay Server and LB Hub as well too. Like using Lightning in a more self-sovereign way or a self-sovereign way is way easier than it used to be, and I love to see it because I think ultimately, the high-value producers who want to store their time and energy in Bitcoin are going to want to receive it, and they'll want some easier ways to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I do want to show another thing I was alluding to here in regards to Lightning. So I do run my own Lightning node. I do it on my Start9 node, and I do it through something called LB Hub. And so LB Hub just is kind of a simple way of setting up a Lightning node, and it kind of handholds you. You set it up, and it'll say like, okay, you probably want to do this first, and then this second, and then this third, and it'll give you suggestions. Whereas before, it would just, you'd look at a dashboard, and you have no idea what's in front of you. So it's super helpful, and you're able to link your mobile wallet to it very, very simply and see your Lightning node on your phone, which is awesome. Now, they've implemented a couple cool things, one of which is auto swaps. And so what this does, anybody familiar with a Lightning channel, like if I had a Lightning channel to Nathan, for instance, and we had, 1 million sats between us, basically those million sats are locked up, and you can picture it kind of like beads on a string between us. And those beads can go back and forth. Now, I'd have other strings established to other people. And so if Nathan or I wanted to pay somebody else, it's like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I bump beads to his side, he bumps beads to somebody else, and it goes down the line until it hits its destination. Nonetheless, what can happen is if I'm a merchant and I want to be receiving payments regularly, and I'm receiving a lot of payments, eventually all the beads are on my side of the string, and I can't receive any more payments. And that can be a pain in the butt as a merchant. And so what they built in is something called auto swaps. It allows you to, when your Lightning channel gets full, it allows you to basically pay out of that Lightning channel and trigger a swap where you're going to receive on-chain Bitcoin, perhaps into like a cold card or some cold storage or something. And then that frees up you to be able to accept more payments without having to deal with any special reallocation of funds and all of that. So the way it works, and I'll just show, so here's LB Hub. More or less, all you would do is you'd go to your wallet. Over on the top right, there's something that says swap. It allows you to just swap in or swap out. So like if you want to take some on-chain Bitcoin and add it to your Lightning channel, you can just do that. Or the opposite, if you want to swap out and get some Bitcoin off of your Lightning node and into cold storage, you can do that without closing the channel or shrinking the size of it. But you can also, up in the top right, hit auto swap, and it allows you to say, okay, I want to have X amount of Bitcoin in the channel at all times, but if it gets to a certain balance, then I want this amount to go out. And you can just automate that, say where it's going to go, or it can just go to your on-chain balance in your LB Hub. But nonetheless, it just automates all your Lightning stuff for you, which is super cool. I did also want to show one other thing that they did. They added sub wallets. So you have your regular Lightning wallet, and you can see here I've linked it to my Nostros. So there's like some zaps from something I shared earlier on. But the sub wallets, for example, you got family members, you got kids, whatever. You can create a sub wallet for a kid that is actually using your own Lightning node, and it'll just kind of segregate funds for them to be able to utilize it, which is super cool as well. So Albi, killing it, really enjoy it. And I will say, again, it's on my start 9. It's not the only thing I'm playing with. I got some other stuff going here. I got the Ashigaru dojo set up, ready to go. I've also got Fedimints there. Also, if you're going to give me shit about having core on here, I had to switch it back because Ashigaru, because of the, in order to do the coin join with Ashigaru, it's data, right? And so the data settings there, it requires, from what I've heard from the team there, it requires you to be running core for that. So I swapped back for as I'm doing this tutorial. So there you have it. Nathan, have you played with AlbiHub at all?
Played with AlbiHub. Yes, I absolutely love it. And I did an interview with Roland from GetAlbi, one of the Lightning app developers over there. I love what they're doing because he really got me a lot more bullish on Nostr, and they're doing Nostr and AI integration with Lightning as well too. And it's really cool. It was actually a wonderful experience to get a better understanding of how something like Nostr Wallet Connect is making connecting to your Lightning node way easier. Because previously trying to do that, have it set up on my phone, was a pain in the ass. But this just worked seamlessly. I had it set up in an hour.
Yeah. It's pretty intuitive. It'll tell you, it'll just say, hey, do you want to open a channel? There you go. Hey, download this app and scan this QR code. And now it's on your phone. Like that's pretty much it. It's awesome. Couple other things, some additional updates. Primal, those of you that are on Nostr or not, even still, check it out. Primal update on Android just the other day. And actually, I had an iOS update just, 5 days ago as well. Big news for Android users. Damus for Nostr is now on Android as well. Right now, it's just installing an APK, but it will be bumped to the app stores soon. It's already been submitted. Let's chat about Casey Affleck and Pete Davidson. What did you want to say about Pete, by the way?
That man punches so far above his weight class. I don't know how he's pulling it off. I don't get it. But I looked it up. Maybe I'm envious. I don't know. I'm happily married, but still. We had Ariana Grande, Kate Beckinsale, Kardashian even. Like, I don't get it. I don't see the appeal. This man astonishes me.
There's something in the water, or he's putting something in the water.
He's a comedian. It's the Cosby effect, I suppose.
Yeah, the Cosby effect. Oh God. Oh, very nice. Well, what are they up to in the realm of Bitcoin? Well, there is a Hollywood thriller, a movie coming out called Killing Satoshi, to explore Bitcoin mysteries. Okay, so let's read a little bit. A major Hollywood production is set to bring the legend of Bitcoin's creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, to the big screen. Titled Killing Satoshi, the thriller aims to unravel the mystery behind Nakamoto's identity and fate of approximately 1.1 million dormant Bitcoin, currently valued over $120 billion. Directed by Doug Lyman and written by Nick Schenk. The film stars Casey Affleck and Pete Davidson. Production will begin in London in October. They're doing the London. They're doing the He's from England play. Yep. Maybe with a release schedule for 2026. So this is coming out next year. Plot centers on a group challenging a powerful alliance of governments, financial institutions, and tech firms determined to keep Nakamoto's identity hidden. According to the producers, the film's tone is inspired by The Social Network, using the Bitcoin origin story to explore the impact of revolutionary technology. Do
you think Peter Todd will play himself?
That would be excellent. So my guess with this movie, first off, I think this will be fun. I think it'll be, you got to go in as a Bitcoiner being like, they're going to get shit wrong. I know everybody's going to nitpick. They're going to do dumb things. They're going to say stuff that technically is completely incorrect. We all, we're all very well read, I'm certain, compared to the director and writer, but I hope that it'll still be a fun movie. So maybe just put aside, there's been much worse. We've seen it, Bitcoin treated much worse in Hollywood before. I can't say that. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be a big steaming pile of crap. but I'm interested to see what they do. Casey Affleck is pretty good. Pete Davidson, I don't know, take it or leave it. What do you think this is going to be any good?
No, I don't. But I would love to be pleasantly surprised. What I do think is it's another little cultural signpost. Like, we need narratives and stories. I think how powerful The Big Short is in terms of even just reminding people of what happened in 2008. Now, in my opinion, they got some things wrong in terms of who was to blame. There's more of a monetary phenomenon, but that's me getting into the weeds. And we'll get into the weeds on this one too. So I think it's important from a cultural relevance standpoint. I think it's stories that inspired normies to go and check out Bitcoin, to maybe explore, get some, see what's going on with it. I would laugh my ass off if there was a price run up on speculation with the movie. That would just be hilarious. I would like to be pleasantly surprised. I'm in no way betting on it. And I could very well see myself and many other plebs just yelling at the screen in the theater.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of that. That's for sure.
I see the comment, Pete Davidson is Satoshi. That would explain his dating history.
That's it. That's what he's doing. He shows off his wallet. Unbeknownst to the girls, though, it's a watch only. They didn't know. Ariana Grande didn't know how that works. She was fooled. She was hoodwinked.
Poor girl.
She got Gavin Andreessen. Oh Lordy. Okay. Well, I mean, with that said, hey, we're popping back a little bit. Hey, it looks like tail end of the show.
Ooh, nice.
People are taking the NASDAQ news with a grain of salt finally, or just speculating. Who knows? We never know these days. Anyways, this was a blast. Everybody that's here, thank you guys for coming and joining. Of course, if you enjoyed the conversation, smash that like button. I mean, we're going to be back again. Check out the previous stuff that came out earlier in the week, by the way, really quick, just as a reminder. Nathan, who did you have on this week?
Former vice president candidate Spike Cohen for the Libertarian Party. And that one was it went in a direction I was not anticipating from doing some research beforehand. It was a great conversation about the not-for-profit kind of grassroots movement and work he's doing right now, as well as a ton of stuff on Bitcoin. Dude's super bullish on Bitcoin.
100%. We also had yesterday, we had Preston Pish on with Isabella from BTC Isla. And we had Ryan, of course, of Bitcoin Mentor. And it was a good powwow. So go check that one out. And earlier in the week, we released a tutorial on the Avalon Nano 3S. It's a little home miner that you can lotto mine with. It was pretty badass. I actually hooked it up to my daughter's Lightning wallet, and now she's getting daily Lightning payouts. So good fun way to teach my kids about what Bitcoin mining is. So check it all out, drop a like, and we will be seeing you after the weekend for more tutorials, more interviews, and more live stuff. With that, I'm Ben. This was Nathan, and this was your weekly session. We'll see you guys soon. Hey, you. Yes, you watching the Bitcoin price movements and the latest exciting news. It's awesome to stay informed, but the real power of Bitcoin comes from taking control. Don't just watch, take action. Head over to btcsessions.ca/learn for free step-by-step tutorials that guide you through every major skill you need to know, plus full video playlists for deeper dives on any topic you like. And if you're ready for the ultimate fast track, scroll to the bottom and check out bitcoinmentor.io for premium one-on-one experience with my team of Bitcoin experts to ensure you get it right the first time. Don't wait. Secure your Bitcoin future today. Hit the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen.